1 week till the start of training camp. What is CJ Stroud's biggest and best asset? 4 things that are being said about the AFC South that are a little bit out of control. Landry Tunsil gets some love, and the Texans are doing something really weird. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah. It's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk. Yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize every angle's what we really do. We the source. We the pulse of the city too. Landlocked. Got the game in the headlock. Localize every time. Can't stop.
All right, we're 1 week away from training camp, 7 days to be exact. I will be out there. I will be interviewing players straight off of the field. I will be bringing that content to you in the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. I'm Landry Locker. You can also hear me on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. We got your Texans coverage quite often, 24/7, if you so desire. Subscribe, like, ride along. It's been a fun ride throughout the offseason. No days off since the channel started the day before last season. And times are a lot more fun now than they were at times then. Put the comments in. If you're new to the show, thanks for coming through. If you're a regular, you know the drill. Get the comments in. And if they're in the flow of things, then we'll get to them. If they're interesting, but something that, we can touch on later, then we'll get to that as well. I guess some news: Marvin Mims was just traded to the Detroit Lions. Just couldn't really find his place with the Jets. The Jets obviously have better options. So the Lions are kicking the tires. Someone asked me today on the show, do you think they should bring Marvin Mims to Houston? And my response was, I don't know what Wade Phillips thinks of him. Talking about the XFL. I don't know what Mims has left in the tank. Apparently he can't stay in shape, which is not great. But we'll see what happens with him in Detroit. I thought that maybe, Wade Phillips could have used him on the Roughnecks, but we'll see what happens. Maybe that's a cheap shot. Who knows? But we'll see. But I don't think, the Texans really needed to kick the tires on Marvin Mims, although it wouldn't surprise me if they did bring in a receiver. I want to get into CJ Stroud's biggest asset. Rookie quarterbacks, a lot of times when they come into situations, especially when they're drafted as high as CJ Stroud was, they're joining flawed football teams and flawed cultures and teams with question marks. And a lot of times teams are just drafted a quarterback just to draft a quarterback and trying to make it work because it is the most important position and it can excite a fan base. I don't think that's the case with CJ. I think they like CJ Stroud. At least they didn't want to wait for another quarterback next season. But the one thing CJ Stroud does have, and I heard them talking about this on NFL Network, I think it was actually Ryan Leaf, is CJ Stroud has a really good offensive line, or at least he damn sure better with the Texans. We know he has pretty good tackles. One of the best in the game, Landry Tunsil. We'll get to him a little bit later on. He got some of that love that it seems like a lot of NFL players are craving. But CJ Stroud has a really above average and hopefully really good offensive line. Laramie Tunsil, Titus Howard, and then if Shaq Mason and Kenyon Green and Juice Scruggs aren't good in the interior, then I think we're really going to have to start to question however the hell they're evaluating offensive linemen with Nick Caserio's staff, because you would have invested a first-round pick, a second-round pick with a trade up, and a top 15, top 12, whatever, average annual salary for a guard in Shaq Mason. So the offensive line should be CJ Stroud's biggest asset, which is important. Now, the receivers, I see some of you are optimistic about the receivers. There's some unknown there. I don't know how high the ceiling is, but the receivers are to be determined. I actually think the wide receivers, we're going to see a situation where I think the wide receivers is going to be a heavy investment the next offseason, much like it was with Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville in his second year, and much like Cincinnati decided to go with Chase and get Burrow his guy. I think that that's going to be something that you got to look out for. You got to keep in mind when it comes to CJ Stroud. You can't fill all the holes in one offseason. You'd love to, but I think the receivers is going to be something they're going to go heavy in next year. But the offensive line damn sure better be good. It better be good. And you've got to develop these young guys. And you got Titus Howard playing on the fifth year option at right tackle, which is more than good for Titus Howard. I mean, he's making $13 million this year. I've seen a lot of stuff on Twitter with some friends of the show. I think Crumpler did an article on it. Shout out to Crumpler. Love Crumpler. And shout out to Brown Chubby Bear. Crazy son of a bitch, that Brown Chubby Bear. They're starting to talk about, Titus Howard and contracts and all this type of stuff. Titus Howard doesn't need an extension right now. Like, what are we doing? How much do you want to invest in one area? Like, are we trying to revisit the Bill O'Brien era? Like, if Titus Howard has a good year, how much more is Titus Howard going to be worth? And eventually, if you have enough good players and you have enough needs, you're going to have to let good players go. It happens everywhere. It happens literally everywhere. You have to let good players go eventually, and you don't want to invest too heavily. Now, some people will simplify it and say, well, you want to have a good offensive line for your quarterback. Okay, you want to have good receivers too. You want to have a good defense. So this weird thing where we're talking about extending Titus Howard after he's been a good player, but what's the point of extending Titus Howard at this point, especially when you have this much invested on the offensive line? Kansas City just let their left tackle go. They won a Super Bowl. Jacksonville just let their starting right tackle go, and they brought in Calvin Ridley. Would they have been able to bring in Calvin Ridley if they had re-signed their right tackle? No. How's the Calvin Ridley thing going to work out? Who knows? They locked up Evan Ingram, who had a really good year for Jacksonville last year. So I see it online. I see it, I see the Twitter portion sometimes. And I think the Rockets Twitter is the best that there is. But they tend to fall in love with players. And like, it was a big deal that KJ Martin left, and it was a big deal that Josh Christopher left. And, as soon as Amin Thompson came, it seemed like he was like the best thing ever when we were praying for Victor for all those times. And I just want the Texans Twitter to maintain its energy, its excitement, and not just start falling in love with every player, especially on a bad squad. And I think a lot of it has to do with Titus Howard's a great dude, and he gives every once in a while, he'll give attention online. And I think some of these guys just get really, really giddy whenever there's like a retweet or something like that. But I just don't think that Titus Howard, at the very least, I don't think you're in a hurry to extend him. Like, you can let Titus Howard go out there and have a good season. He's making $13 million. And we can figure stuff out, and then we can evaluate after. But to extend Titus Howard and invest that much in the offensive line when you don't know what these receivers are, and you're going to have to figure something out. Hell, you're only going to really have one starting corner next year too. That's returning, because everyone else is on the final year of their contract, whether it's Desmond King, whether it's Steven Nelson, or whether it's Shaq Griffin. Let's just like slow down on this contract stuff. I don't know. I mean, we're trying to do too much. So we'll see. We'll see what happens eventually. Spoiler alert, if the Texans get good, they're going to let good players go every once in a while, and they're going to have to figure something out. That's what all the good teams have to do. You run into it. So that's what they're going to have to do. So, yeah, there's no hurry to extend Titus Howard. That's just people trying too hard, at least in my humble opinion. I think it's a little bit silly, the Titus Howard thing, but I do think the offensive line is CJ Howard's best asset. I have 4 head-scratching AFC South assumptions, and I'm going to put out an individual video about this tomorrow. But I have 4 head-scratching AFC South assumptions that I think people are completely missing. And one of my mentors in media, he told me this, and it was one of those things where when I first started my career, it was one of those things where it was basically like, hey, Landry, shut the fuck up and keep your eyes on your own paper. Don't worry about other stuff. Keep your eyes on your own paper. Do your thing. And I don't always follow that. And I'm not going to follow that here. I want to kind of take my eyes, because we like to localize. I kind of want to take my eyes off of my Houston paper, and I want to look at 4 things. And again, there's going to be an individual video about this tomorrow. I'd appreciate y'all for coming through, liking and subscribing to that as well. Also going to talk about this on the show tomorrow at noon. I'm actually coming in at 11 tomorrow. I have to go to the doctor. They might have to cut something out of me. Nothing too serious, just a little something in the back. That's probably too much information, but I've been known to do that too. But 4 assumptions about the AFC South that I think are just completely out of touch and completely ridiculous. And I think many of us may be making this mistake. And some of it's good news for the Texans. Some of it's bad news for the Texans. Let's start with misconception number 1, or head scratcher, chin scratcher, whatever you want to say. 4 head or chin scratching assumptions. And everyone always says head scratch. No one does that. It's always more like chin. So 4 head scratching or chin scratching AFC South assumptions here in the locker room on the AFC South, starting with assumption number 4. Derrick Henry's going to wear down. You hear this all the time. The running back position, guys wear down. It happens. Derrick Henry's 28 years old. He's been carrying the ball a lot, but he is coming off a 1,500-yard season. And he is one of the better running backs that we've seen in a while, and he's a physical freak. So eventually, if every year you say Derrick Henry's going to wear down, eventually you're going to be right. But I keep hearing this discussed, and it's always, well, the running backs, we see it all the time. The running backs eventually wear down. How many running backs are 6'3", 6'4", 248, 249 pounds and run like that? Like, do you really see Derrick Henry getting punished? He seems to know how to protect himself. He's not running that violently. He runs by guys. He doesn't try to run over you. He tries to run around you, but if you get in his way, he'll run your ass over. So this notion, and I think we know this very well with the Texans, and I know that Father Time is undefeated, as Jacob has said, but tell me a running back that's built like that, because I haven't seen it that much. I just haven't seen Derrick Henry. I haven't seen anything from him. I didn't see it last year that makes me think Derrick Henry is just going to wear down. I think it's eventually you'll be right. But, if I'm playing fantasy football and I get to the number 3 pick or something like that, and I'm looking at some of these other running backs that people might be high on, I'm just not going to sleep on Derrick Henry. So I think that is one assumption that I think people are making about the AFC South that is okay. I'm damn sure not saying that. Adrian Peterson, I think, had 1,400 yards at 30. Derrick Henry's 28. Okay, you can say that. There's a lot of people that can say that. I'm not going to be one of those people who says that Derrick Henry wears down. I'm with you. I hate the old Oilers too, but yeah, don't put me in that category. Assumption number 3, sticking with the old Oilers, the Tennessee Titans. The Titans want to or need to see Will Levis play. I've heard John McClain say this when he's come on the show. He joins the show every Tuesday at 11 a.m. I've read this quite often. Eventually the Tennessee Titans are going to go to Will Levis. And my question is why? What makes you think that they want to see Will Levis play? Will Levis, if they thought Will Levis was worth seeing play this year, with the need that they have at quarterback, at least the long-term need, maybe not the short-term with Tannehill there, they would have taken him with their first-round pick. I can assure you that if CJ Stroud, and there were reports that they were trying to trade up for CJ Stroud, if CJ Stroud had been there when they picked, they would have picked him. They passed on Will Levis. Ryan Tannehill would have won the division last year had he not gotten hurt. So why the hell do they need to see Will Levis play this year? Why would they be in a hurry? They didn't like him enough to take him in the first round. The other thing about it is this. If you get a good backup quarterback at the start of the second round, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That was one of Tennessee's needs too. If Tennessee had a functional backup quarterback last year, then Tennessee probably would have won the division. Instead, they had to get Josh Dobbs off of the street, and they had to give him his first start the final week of the season, and they had to watch Malik Willis be one of the worst quarterbacks that we've ever seen in NFL history, to the point where they were going halves without throwing the rock. So this notion that, they want to see Will Levis and they want to figure something out, I don't buy that. And I don't buy that they're going to be so bad that they're just going to punt on the season. Why would they do that? Their salary cap situation isn't great. They got Derrick Henry right now. They got Jeffrey Simmons, who I think is the best player in the division. They just signed DeAndre Hopkins. Signing DeAndre Hopkins is not like a long-term type of thing. That's a try to win now move. So this assumption that the Titans want to or need to see Will Levis play, I don't think so. They showed you what they think of. Will Levis. They passed on his ass. That was just screw it, we'll take him. That was what that was. So this notion that the Tennessee Titans are going to figure out what to do with trying to get Will Levis in there, I disagree. Sean O says it all depends what the ownership feels like Ryan Tannehill if they believe in him. I mean, they believe in him. Why would they not? They believe in him to win divisions. They believe in him to be a decent quarterback. They believe in him enough there. But this notion that they want to see Will Levis play for what? They don't think much of him. There's no hurry there. He's their backup. He's better than Malik Willis. That's it. That's what he is. He's a backup quarterback. They don't want to see their backup quarterback on the field. They saw that last year. It sucked. They didn't win a game with it. So I don't buy that. By the way, I got the OU cut. Wife went to OU. Damn shame. Assumption number 3/2 in the AFC South. Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts comparison. Shane Steichen did this with Jalen Hurts. So, look at Anthony Richardson. This is just the ideal guy for Shane Steichen. I don't disagree that Shane Steichen is a good guy to oversee a quarterback, but acting like this is like some sort of smooth transition where it's an L Cup. You didn't watch the game last year, 42-zip, I think. This comparison doesn't make sense. It's actually pretty damn disrespectful to Jalen Hurts to compare Anthony Richardson to him. This is going to be way more difficult than that. Like the notion that this is the same thing is crazy. There's nothing comparable about it. Jalen Hurts stayed an extra year of college and went to OU. Anthony Richardson didn't have a productive year at Florida ever. It's insane, honestly. I know Anthony Richardson was drafted higher. He was drafted higher because of what he might be able to do. Jalen Hurts played his way into being drafted in the second round. He didn't slide in the draft. But to act like he was like some sort of like dipshit, didn't know what he was doing, didn't know how to throw type of quarterback, or like some sort of like project with unrealized potential is ridiculous. Jalen Hurts finished second in Heisman voting his senior year of college. His career completion percentage was 65%. Anthony Richardson's was 55. And we're sitting there and comparing the two. Let's just look at the side by side. This is Hurts' senior year at OU, 69.7% completion percentage, 3,851 yards, 11.3 yards per attempt, 12.2 adjusted, 32 touchdowns and 8 interceptions, 1,298 rushing yards, 20 touchdowns. Damn. Look at that. That's pretty good. We're talking about him like he completed half his passes like Anthony Richardson. You kidding me? Now, if he would have come out after his second year of OU, he still would have had, a better completion percentage and a better body of work. But look at that. What about that? What about that is similar to this? Take a good look at that. 69.7%, 3,851, 11.3, 32 and 8, 1298 and 20. Now let's look at Anthony Richardson. 53.8%, 54.7 career, 2,549 yards, 17 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He only rushed for 654 yards and 9 touchdowns. So all this freakish athleticism, like if you're completing half of your passes, aren't you tucking it and running a little bit? I get that Shane Steichen might be good for him. I get it. But don't compare Jalen Hurts and what he was coming into the NFL to what it's going to take to get the most out of Anthony Richardson. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Doesn't make sense at all. Shano says Anthony Richardson need to prove to me that he be able to read coverages and be able to throw passes in the pocket when grown men are wanting to kill him. Yeah, it's going to take some work. There's a lot of freakish athleticism. There's a lot. But the Jalen Hurts comparison is whack. It's absolutely whack. I wonder if that's a legit quarterback competition. We talk about the quarterback competition here. I wonder if that is a legit quarterback competition. We'll see. But the Jalen Hurts thing is just, I don't get it. Many people have said it. I've heard the Josh Allen too. A little bit wild to me. I don't get it. ES says CJ's better than AR-15. We'll see. It's going to take some work. But when you're completing half of your passes, and the other thing, he had Dan Mullen the 1 year. Now he wasn't healthy, but he had Dan Mullen. And for some reason, Dan Mullen, I think Dan Mullen lost his mind during COVID. I think that year just kind of stressed him out, and he completely went loony. And there's some questionable things that maybe Dan Mullen did, but he did have Dak Prescott for 4 years. He did have Tim Tebow at Florida. So quarterbacks have produced for Dan Mullen in college. I just think the comparison is strange. Look at what Shane Steichen did with Anthony Richardson. I don't even understand it. If we're going to compare Anthony Richardson to someone, it should be Vince Young. I love VY, but I had to come to reality. The dude was not a good pro QB. Hashtag dream team. Mentioning the the Philadelphia Eagles thing. Yeah, at least Vince won in college though. And at least Vince uses athleticism. 654 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns for that freakish athleticism. Like, is he all of a sudden in the NFL going to start like tucking it and running? 654? I mean, some people will say, like apologists, well, he's trying to develop. Come on, he's trying to develop. Nah, that just seems like an instinctual type of thing. And there's some good highlights there. But this notion that that's like some sort of a comp, I'm just not there on that. Assumption number one, and this one's funny, and I can localize this one for anyone that may be an Astros fan. I'm sure most of you are Astros fans. Assumption number one, the Jags are the class of the AFC South. I heard Cameron Wolfe say this on NFL Network. Shout out to Cameron Wolfe, one of the great NFL reporters, U of H alum. Cameron Wolfe said that, you know, the Jags were the class of the AFC South. Based on what? Going 9-8 last year? Having the number one pick in the draft the 2 years before? What is it based on? Winning a playoff game? They're not the class of the AFC South. Could they be the class of the AFC South? Sure. Do they perhaps have the best young core of players to eventually be the class of the AFC South? Yeah. But the win total in Las Vegas when it was 11.5, I think it's kind of come down. That was outlandish. It was 4 wins more than any other team in the AFC South. They're not the class of the AFC South. They might be the most overrated team in the league. Now, would I be shocked if Jacksonville wins the division this year? No. But I also think there might be some 2016 Houston Astro vibes here, where a team goes on a playoff run with a young core like the Astros did in 2015. And then in 2016, everyone's saying stuff like, oh, this team is the team to beat in the AL West, and nobody can F with the Astros. And they missed the playoffs that year. Now, 2017 on, they were the class of the AL West. But they might have got a little bit prematurely crowned in 2016, and I could easily see that with the Jags. I think there's an overreaction. If the Jags had gone 9-8 and missed the playoffs, would people be saying this? I think you kind of got to take a step back. If they had missed the playoffs, would you think any less of them? I know they won the playoff game. Was that more about them, or was that more about the Chargers choking? Trevor Lawrence looked awful. He looked awful. I think Trevor Lawrence is top 10-ish quarterback right now. But anyone who's capable of doing what he did in the first half of that game, I mean, we're talking about going up there with the Herberts, the Burrows, and all that. All right, I'm going to have to see that to believe that. And don't tell me they went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs either, because Patrick Mahomes was on one leg. I don't give a damn about that either. Could they be the class of the AFC South? Sure. I've been high on Jacksonville, it seems like, every year for a while. But I've never seen this much of a ridiculous overreaction. I mean, 11.5 wins was the win total in Vegas. That's asinine. You know how many AFC teams won 12 games last year? 3. Chiefs, Bengals, Bills. 3. You think the Jags are that? They got good weapons. They could end up being that. But you got to win more than one division, and you got to win a division without backing into it before you start telling me that a team is a class of the division. That's ridiculous. And I think that's probably the most ridiculous thing that of all these things. to reset. Jags, class of the AFC South, okay. Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, Shane Steichen thing, okay. Titans want to see Will Levis play, doubt it. And Derrick Henry's going to wear it down. Those are the four head or chin scratching AFC South assumptions. I'll put a personal video of that out tomorrow. We'll be going live every day during camp. There's going to be multiple videos during camp. Haven't really slowed down. I think the digital game as a whole is going to speed up when camp starts. Be on the lookout for Stutes. Still don't know what my man Stutes is doing, but props to him for getting out of getting out on his own and controlling the way in which he's going to cover the team. However he can figure that out. But we'll see what's going to happen with Jacksonville. I think it's absolutely ridiculous, though. Laramie Tunsil got his Madden rating. CJ Stroud wasn't happy about his. I think Laramie Tunsil is going to be pretty pleased with his. He's the 4th ranked Madden offensive lineman. He comes in with a 95, which is great. I think that Laramie Tunsil is becoming one of the leaders of this squad. 95, he's got to feel pretty good about himself. So Madden has him as the 4th best offensive lineman, 2nd or 3rd best tackle behind Trent Williams, for sure. And then I don't know what's going on there. Who knows? No clue. But good for him. There are a lot of offensive line experts out there now, though. Laramie Tunsil's by far the 2nd best offensive line tackle. I love it. Titus Howard, that's the best tackle duo. People talking about tackle duos. That's the one thing that I've kind of avoided. Like, I watch the Texans offensive line play, so I can tell you who's playing bad. But I always get pretty fascinated when someone like that doesn't have the time to really do this. Like, at least Pro Football Focus, they're watching all of the offensive linemen, and you take it with a grain of salt. And there's individual times where, like, someone will watch tape. And Madden, they're doing the same thing. But I always get a kick out of, my boy Needle Dong Johnson or whoever the hell. And they say, Texans got the best tackle duo in the NFL. Really? Give me your top 10. Like, it's not like a receiver, running back, quarterback, etc., where, you can follow the production. Like, there's all these gray areas and all that type of stuff. But I just get a kick out of, like, the whole arguing over tackle tandems and stuff. When did we become so smart about offensive line? It's pretty amusing. So I think the Texans did something pretty corny. And the one thing that I try to do with you guys, with the audience, is I'm always honest with you. Like, it might be obnoxious at times. It might be a little bit, much, but I take pride in this, man. Like, I am you. Like, I'm riding around yelling at the radio and stuff. And you'll never see me tap out. You'll never see me, like, coast on a show. I'm always, trying my best to, like, at least represent what people want to hear locally. I'm not a national show. It's a local show. The goal is always, whenever someone gets in their car, like, let's say Johnny is coming in from New York and he gets in the car and he says, hey, put it on. He gets in his Uber and he says, hey, put it on Houston Talk Sports Radio. I want them to know what the hell matters here. That's why we always talk about localizing it. And, sometimes you localize it and it might be a reach, but that's what we're supposed to do. That's why I'm on the air. The national stuff, like, football wise, we can get into that. Baseball's become, regional because there's so much to go on with the Astros, touch on Rockets, all that type of stuff. But that's what it is. But I always take it very, very serious. I take it very, very serious to be authentic and not really, like, sacrifice saying what I believe. Right. So, and I think the track record speaks for itself. we're the flagship station. I think people need to know about what a slimeball scumbag Jack Easterby is. I think everyone needs to know it, from the people in the building to the people out there. People are saying it behind the scenes. I think you need to know it. Don't give a damn if it's the flagship or not. Wasn't always like the most popular thing. Like just pulling back the curtain wasn't always the most popular thing to do, but I felt like it was necessary because he was a scumbag and he was running this thing into the ground. Bill O'Brien, he's king. If I think Bill O'Brien's an idiot, I'm going to say I think Bill O'Brien's an idiot. If I think they're playing good, I'm going to say that I think they're playing good. I say all that to say this. I am a member of the Texans fan council. And part of the reason that I am a member of the Texans fan council is because they know that I will be honest with them and tell them what I think is corny. I told them I thought that the introductions that they used to do where they would just say their first name were the stupidest thing in the world, especially in like 2020 and 2021 where nobody knew who the hell these guys were. That was stupid. I think Clay Walker should not be having a theme song here and then going and wearing a Tennessee Titans jersey and flipping coins. I think that's stupid. I think football time in Houston is dated. I also think that the Texans did something kind of corny with their theme days. And I'm just going to pull this up. It's not a big deal. I just think it's a little bit of a misfire by them, especially given the efforts that they've made. So they announced their theme days, and we'll go through here. Play football day for the Miami Dolphins. Cool. Although I do think the most disgraceful ad campaign in the history of my lifetime was when 5-10 years ago we had to promote playing outside for 60 minutes for fat ass kids who just want to sit there and play on the video game and all that type of stuff. Where I'm from, where back in my day, telling me to play outside for 60 minutes was damn near a punishment. That sucked if I only had to play outside for 60 minutes. The fact that the NFL at one point had to promote play 60, not saying it wasn't necessary, but it was a damn shame. We also have kickoff for the Colts. That's cool. No problems there. Legends Homecoming. That's JJ Watt Day. That's going to be cool. We're going to see a lot of guys there. I anticipate like pretty much every good Texan in history will be there. That's cool. Crucial Catch. The cancer theme. That's cool. Kids Day. Great. I don't think there's anything better than having kids go to a game and enjoy a game with their father or whoever they're with. You all remember it. If you've ever been fortunate enough to go to a game, then you would be like, it's a great day. Kids Day, the more kids friendly you can make it, the better. So I think we can all agree with that. Salute to service. Awesome. One of the best days. Battle Red Day. It's traditional. You remember when Texans were on national TV earlier, and you had the Battle Red vibe. That's cool. My cause, my cleats. I think that's badass. I like seeing the creativity of the players. That's great. Holiday game. It's December 24th. Sweet. That's awesome. Now we're getting into the silly thing that I think is a little bit weird. December 31st. First of all, that's New Year's Eve, man. There were so many damn possibilities here you could have done. Here. Rep in H-Town? What? I thought they were making a concerted effort to do that every single week. I thought that was like a thing that they're doing all the time. They got all these H-Town shirts. They're playing more H-Town like songs. I think it's tight. Like they did a good job last year. The atmosphere wasn't there because it was a dog-butted football team, and you had Lovie Smith acting grumpy. And quite frankly, about 2/3 through the season, we were just hoping they would lose so that they would get a better draft pick. Repping H-Town Day, though? I thought that was every game. I don't get that. So we need a day to rep H-Town, and I can already see what we're going to do. We're going to have the slabs out there. We're going to have, they're probably going to have Paul Wall or Slim Thug go out there. Man, they could do that any game. They did that last year during a halftime. Repping H-Town Day as opposed to what? What am I repping the other games? I thought this was weird. I thought this was like a constant theme. I didn't know this was like a special day thing. I had Brandon Scott say to me today, B. Scott, by the way, he's going to hold it down for me tomorrow for an hour. I got an early doctor's appointment. B. Scott was like, well, what about 4th of July? Every day you're proud to be an American 4th of July. Yeah, because something actually happened on that day. But repping H-Town Day? I don't know about that. Not really into that. But okay. We'll bring out the slabs. We'll do whatever. I thought we were doing that every day. Okay. H-Town Day. Cool. Not that big of a deal. That's just kind of one of those things that I just thought was a little bit strange. Other comments. J-Rock talking about Patterson from Notre Dame. He says, I really think they drafted Patterson in mind just in case Green doesn't pan out. Well, of course. You need depth on the offensive line. He can play center. He can play guard. Patterson, for sure. Just in case Green doesn't work out. Lucky Redfish asks, who is Schultz's best comparison? He's okay at blocking, not great at blocking, got a little bit better. Maybe like a poor man Zach Ertz. Both Stanford guys. Like real poor man's Zach Ertz. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if CJ can vibe with him. Abel asking about Martin from the Cowboys. Yeah, are you asking about trading for him? I would say no. Man, he might be the best offensive lineman the Cowboys have ever had, which is saying a lot when you look at his resume. I said that today, and Lopez kind of rolled his eyes, rightfully so. But I mean, he's an 8-time All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler. I think Larry Allen was a 6-time All-Pro. I just think it sucks that we got his brother, and his brother sucks so bad. Remember when Bill O'Brien made a big deal about his brother having like a weight bench in his garage during COVID? Man, that dude sucked. And they made him the highest paid center or one of the 5 highest paid centers in the NFL, despite the fact like he ranked 5th in the division. He was terrible. He was the Ozzie Canseco to Jose. He was the Taylor Griffin to Blake. He was the Tito Jackson to Michael. He was awful. But no, I don't think the Texans will be trading for Martin. I don't think the Cowboys can afford to let Martin go. But damn, it's a damn shame that we ended up with the one that was just so much worse. Tyler, I could see CJ struggling this year, and somehow Texans end up with a top 10 pick and all the Houston fans ready to draft another QB. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. If CJ struggles and they're drafting the top 10, I'm pretty sure people will be like pushing for Marvin Harrison Jr. or one of these receivers. If CJ struggles, I would hope. I think if the team struggles, I think we've gotten to the point where I think people are willing to be patient here. I don't think there's like any high expectations for CJ Stroud. So I don't think that's going to happen. Tyler Elliott, Brown struggle, Texans get top 10. Okay. Lamont has a hot take. I know a lot of people like our running back stable as is, but I think the Texans should inquire about some of these running backs. I'm shaky on Pierce. I'm not shaky on Pierce. I just think there might be like some unfair expectations for Dameon Pierce right now where people are just expecting him to be, the unquestioned top 10 running back in the league, bell cow type of guy. And that's just not really, I don't think that's the ideal role for him. And you've heard D'Amico Ryan say they want to use him as a committee, in a committee. And I think Lamont compared him to Marion Barber. I've done that many times. They're the same. There's like 1 inch difference in height, and they're the exact same weight, and they run the same. And Marion Barber was better when he was back up in a committee than he was as a starter. I think Pace will be good. I think he'll be good. I just don't think that expecting Dameon Pierce to be, to the point, like the best example, the best tangible example I can use. I don't want to generalize, but it was a pretty common opinion during the draft that, if Bijan Robinson was there at 12, you don't take him because you got Dameon Pierce. That's outlandish to me. I mean, that's like a game. And obviously you didn't have the opportunity to do it. I don't know that Philadelphia lets him pass, but I think that was a little bit too much. And I always use the James Robinson example, who had a better rookie year than Pierce and then just kind of fell off. But I like Pierce. I just think the role that he's best equipped to be in is more so committee than bell cow. Percy says he'd like to see Pierce be more situational, not an every down guy. We need somebody who is speedy, home run threat, and catch more out of the backfield. And I guess that's what they hope Devin Singletary will be this year. And I think that Devin Singletary is going to be fine. Dalvin Cook, I don't think they need to bring in Dalvin Cook. Quite frankly, Dalvin Cook wants to get broke off too. I'm fine with the committee. I just don't look at it as, number one guy. TJ says, Landry, I have something important you can say for later. Okay. Talking about the Odyssey app or something. Okay. Whatever. Lamont, again, most Houston fans are casual fans. They are there for the party. I can totally see why Texans would do something like rep in H-Town Day. Yeah, I mean, people might like it. I just thought it was an every time thing. I do think there's some diehards though at those games, for sure. There is definitely casual. I think if the team gets good and the team gets better, then I think all bets are off. But I just don't get the H-Town Day. Jacob says, I'm higher on Pierce. I'm a couple of whiskeys away from taking our $5,000 bet that he would have better stats than Arian Foster. Man, that was so asinine, but all respect. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Subscribe, like, for real. Subscribe and like. Do me a favor there. And keep riding with me because it's going to be fun. We've been in this for a while. And it's about to get more fun. We're about 10 months in on the channel, and going to continue to do our thing on the radio, keep doing what we do. So appreciate everyone for pulling up. No matter what happens when it comes to the Texans, always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we are all in this together. Happy week away from camp.
Hey, locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up, we number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you